Imagine this. Every morning, you step into your backyard, scatter a handful of seeds on a table, or toss a few crumbs onto the ground, then head back inside. At first, nothing happens. The seeds just sit there untouched. No visitors, no movement. Then one day, a small bird appears. It lands several feet away from the table. It doesn't come closer. It simply watches, studies the area, and flies away. The next day, it returns. This time it stays a little longer. By the third day, it finally eats. What you don't realize is that this moment changes everything, not only for that bird, but for you as well. And nobody ever tells you this. This is bird science. Most people think feeding birds is a simple transaction. You put out food. They eat it. End of story. But science reveals something very different. When you feed the birds in your yard consistently, you trigger a chain of events that can completely transform your outdoor space. And it happens in stages, each one more remarkable than the last. The first stage is the slowest, but also the most important. During those first few days, the bird that discovered your food isn't just coming to eat. It's coming to study you. It watches what time you come outside, how long you stay, whether you move quickly or slowly, whether you're noisy or quiet. It's building a profile of you. While it's eating, it's gathering information. But here's the fascinating part. That bird doesn't keep the information to itself. It shares it. Researchers have documented that when birds discover a reliable food source, their behavior changes. They begin flying different routes, spending more time in the area, and producing subtle calls that other birds of the same species recognize. It's not a simple "food here" signal. It's more sophisticated than that. The change appears in their movement patterns and daily routines, and nearby birds interpret those changes as evidence that something valuable exists in that direction. And that's when the second stage begins. Sometime during the first or second week, you'll notice something. It's no longer just one bird visiting. Now there are 2, then 4, then 6, and they're not all the same species. New birds begin arriving. Science has a name for this phenomenon: interspecific facilitation. When one species is comfortably feeding in a location, other species see that behavior as a sign of safety. If that sparrow can eat there without danger, then perhaps it's safe for me too. It's similar to walking past an empty restaurant and hesitating to enter, but feeling more confident when you see people enjoying a meal inside. Birds do the same thing, and the effect grows. Every new species attracts another. Your feeder becomes more than a feeding station. It becomes a gathering place, a social hub for the neighborhood's bird community. But what happens after the second week is what most people never hear about. The third stage, your yard, begins to change. Not symbolically, physically. The birds visiting for food aren't only eating seeds, they're hunting insects, lots of insects. A single chickadee can consume hundreds of insects every day. Caterpillars, aphids, mosquitoes, spiders, and many other garden pests. Your yard becomes a natural pest control system. No pesticides, no chemicals, just birds doing what birds naturally do. And that's not all. Many birds contribute to pollination as they move from flower to flower, searching for nectar. Others spread seeds throughout the area. Native plants that you never planted may suddenly begin appearing. After a month of feeding birds, your yard may contain more flowers, fewer pests, and noticeably more life than before. And all you did was place food outside. But the fourth stage is perhaps the most extraordinary, and this stage involves you. After several weeks of consistency, the birds no longer merely tolerate your presence. They recognize you, they know who you are, and they've decided you're safe. You'll begin noticing behaviors that weren't there before. A bird that doesn't immediately fly away when you step outside, another that feeds only a few feet from where you're sitting, one that seems to sing shortly after you appear. This isn't imagination, it's science. Research has shown that birds can distinguish individual humans and associate specific people with reliable food sources in surprisingly short periods of time. They don't simply recognize humans as a group. They recognize you, and they adjust their behavior when you appear. But what comes next changes the entire experience. The fifth stage, connection. People who feed birds regularly often describe something difficult to measure, but impossible to ignore. A sense of calm, a feeling of purpose, a connection to the natural world around them. And science is beginning to understand why. Studies have found that people living in areas with greater bird activity often report lower levels of stress, anxiety, and depression. Age doesn't seem to matter. Income doesn't seem to matter. More birds often means better emotional well-being. And here's the part few people mention. When you feed birds every day, you don't just change your backyard. You change your routine. You step outside at the same time. You sit quietly. You observe. You breathe. You disconnect from your phone, even if only for a few minutes. That daily ritual becomes just as beneficial for you as the food is for them. You're not only feeding the birds, in a way they're helping you too. But there's one important thing you should know, something that can undermine all of this if you're not careful. When birds begin relying on a consistent food source, they adjust their schedules, routes, and territories around it. If the food suddenly disappears without warning, they'll continue returning and searching for it. That search costs valuable energy they need for survival. This doesn't mean you shouldn't feed birds. It means you should do it responsibly. If you begin, try to stay consistent. If you need to stop, reduce the amount gradually over several days so they can adapt. What you feed them matters too. Sunflower seeds are excellent. Millet works well for many species. Fresh fruit can attract different birds. But white bread provides very little nutritional value, and spoiled food can make birds sick. If you're going to feed them, do it properly. Because once you start, it's no longer only your yard, it's theirs too. So what really happens when you feed the birds in your backyard every day? First one arrives, then many more follow. Your garden fills with life. Pests decrease. New plants appear. Birds learn who you are. They greet your presence. And without realizing it, you begin feeling better too. All because of a handful of seeds. The next time you step outside, leave something for them. Seeds, fruit, fresh water, anything helpful. Then wait. Maybe nothing happens on the first day, maybe not on the second. But eventually a bird will arrive. It will watch, it will evaluate. And if it decides your yard is worth trusting, it will stay. And it won't come alone. If you'd like to learn which foods are best for different bird species, and what you should place in a feeder, we'll cover that in the next video. Subscribe for more Secret Life of Birds. Leave a like if this inspired you, and tell us in the comments, do you already feed the birds in your yard? And which species visit most often? Because if you haven't started yet, after this video, you just might want to.